Oh, hello, my wonderful, beautiful broskis and broskies of the Maverick Nation. I am the Dark Shadow Maverick, and this is the next step in our little marathon feature that goes up all the way until before the whole Camino Award thing. So we have a while to go. In part, basically, what if Izuku was the Carnage Symbiote? Actually, what if Izuku had the Carnage Symbiote? Part 4. Yes, 4. Part 4. Last part, we had some major developments. Shoto got his own symbiote in the form of Agony. And, let's just say that, Izuku now teaching Shoto and Agony how to basically make the advancements that Izuku's been making with the powers that he has with Carnage. So basically, symbiote training. And Endeavor really wouldn't mind this, seeing as, well, if he's going to have a symbiote, if he's going to be bonded with one, he should at least be able to use it to its fullest extent. And, well, the way to do that, then, by being trained by someone who already knows how to unlock that type of potential. And that person being his adopted brother, Izuku. Basically, it wouldn't have been like 1 or 2 days after the whole USJ thing, whenever Aizawa would announce that they were going to do the UA Sports Festival. And so Shoto would be extra glad, actually, that he did the symbiote training. Because, well, now he can, basically fight alongside Agony to the fullest extent that they're able to really use right now. And Agony would be talking to Shoto, being like, what the hell is the UA Sports Festival? And, Shoto would be like, maybe if you listen to the teacher, you'd be able to know. And, well, basically, now, the entirety of UA, including Class 1A, Class 1B, General Studies even, Kashinso, So, indeed, Venom would be a part of the sports festival as well, because Venom's host is Shinso, Hitoshi Shinso. So, yeah, that would be a thing. Yeah, Izuku would know that seeing as general studies students are being accepted into the sports festival, that obviously Shinso would be there, and since Shinso would be there, Venom would be there. And, well, That would basically, Izuku would get really hyped up because, he's like, see what we can do. You know, you get really excited to test his skills against the person who is the host of Venom. See what they can do. And Shoto, like, as a surprise to actually a lot of people, Shoto would also get excited. And Agony would get excited with him. And they would actually get excited for the same reason Izuku was getting excited. Because, Venom was going to be there, and Venom is the reason why Carnage and Agony even exist. So basically, they'd be fighting their pops. Well, they would also be fighting another student. They would also be fighting their pops because Venom is Shinso's symbiote. Symbiote partner. And so, all the crazy shit that had been going on. Basically, like, they'd be told that they'd have to put on their PE uniforms for whenever they get to the UA Sports Festival. And whenever, like, Izuku and Shoto and everyone else, like Toga and Momo and everyone else, like, all get over there, there's so many people. Like, not just the class, but the audience. Like, everyone in the stands. But, like, freaking blah, blah. Izuku doesn't, get nervous. He doesn't get nervous at all. Because he's too hyped up to test his skills, against Shinso/Venom. He's too hyped up to get nervous. And the same thing with Shoto. He's too riled up and hyped up to get nervous about anything. And, Endeavor's there in the crowd. He's like trying to look around to find his boys, trying to find them somewhere, wherever they are. And he does end up being able to find them. You can see them amongst all the other students. Because right now they're currently talking to their symbiotes. And their symbiotes basically stick out of their freaking shoulder/neck area. And so it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. And so that's pretty much how Endeavor was able to find them. Because during this time they were talking to their symbiotes. Like, outside of their mind. Because, they weren't all that worried because, they're not all that nervous. And so they don't really worry about anyone giving a shit about, their symbiote partners. They care about, like, Momo and Toga, but, Momo and Toga don't mind. The only thing that really, the only thing really about that is their symbiote partners teasing them about their girlfriends and their relationship with their girlfriends. And, the hormones. Like, the hormone levels whenever they're around their girlfriends. And so, basically, the first, right before the first activity is like the first thing is announced. Right before that, basically, it's said, Izuku Midoriya, please come up to, the thing. I forgot what it's called. Basically, please come up to whatever. Izuku Midoriya, just get over here. Like friggin' Scorpion. And so Izuku's like, oh, I have to do the speech. And then Kanji's like, oh, come on, Izuku. You weren't nervous before. Why are you nervous now? And Izuku's like, it's different whenever you're around, like, a lot of people. And then whenever you're doing a speech around a lot of people. Those are two, like, different things. And Kanji's like, I see your point, but still. You can't just, crap out before any of the actual, like, heavy metal shit actually gets going. I mean, that's not the Izuku I know. The Izuku I know wouldn't just crap out because he got a little nervous about making some stupid speech. Besides, who's to say that they're not gonna listen to you or anything? Like, some of those 1B students, like, they're just like trash. They're assholes. Like, cough cough, freaking Mito Monoma. Like, Carnage would literally do that. He'd be like, cough cough, Mito Monoma. After saying, like, some of the 1B students are trash. He would do that. And that would actually bring a smile to Izuku's face, actually getting him to start to laugh. And he'd be like, Carnage, you're the best. I guess we can both agree on one thing. Monoma is a dick. They both think that. So, Izuku just gets over there. And he's like, basically, he does the speech that's similar enough to the one that he does in canon, but he's nowhere near as shy. And he's actually pretty confident with his voice, and he isn't like shivering or quivering or any of that shit. He's reinforced his will, ironclad, like tenfold. And Agony would be like, phew, it's a good thing my brother knows how to make a good save whenever it comes to his partner. Right, Shoto? We wouldn't want our brother to, crap out in something so important. And, Shoto's like, you're right, Agony. It is a good thing that your brother is the way that he is. I mean, I wouldn't forgive him if he wasn't. I mean, if you just let Izuku crap out like that, I wouldn't be able to forgive him. And, Agony's just like, nah, I knew you would say that. And Shoto would be like, you liar. And Agony would be like, that's not what your mental fortitude is saying. And Shoto's like, damn it. Why did Momo have to freaking remind you that you could enter my mind? God. And, well, it would just get crazy. And, right before any of the serious shit would begin, there would be a scene with Izuku, Shoto, Bakugo, and even Monoma would be up there. And Monoma would just be like, all you Class 1A people think you're so special. I'll defeat all of you. That's right, a declaration of war. I'm gonna swipe all of you. And Bakugo's like, oh yeah? Like, just explosions in his hands. And Shoto would be like, Bakugo? Bakugo would be like, wait, what? What's your problem, Shoto? And then all of a sudden, like, just get webbed to the freaking wall and, like, mouth shut, like, and Shoto would be like, well, thanks to Agony, at least I can do that now. And, Izuku would just be like, thank you, bro. And, Shoto would be like, hey, what are bros for? And, Monoma would continue just, like, running his mouth like, you freaking, like, 1A scum can't even get along with each other. How do you expect to win the freaking sports festa? And then all of a sudden, Monoma will get a feeling of existential dread crawling up his back. And that's no normal existential dread. It'd be the feeling of cold tentacles. Cold, stringy tentacles going around his body. Slithering around. And he could hear something, like, emoting from them. And what it would say, back off. Besides, I'm from general studies. You don't hear me bitching and moaning. Mita Monoma. Now, either back off, or back the hell off, my friends, or am I just going to have to get the shovel? And, Monoma's just like, turns his head over, and is like, he sees what's behind him. He sees, like, the lean version of, like, the Venom, basically Venom. He basically just sees Venom, like, right behind him. And, Monoma is like, okay, I give. Now, please don't kill me. And, the voice would say, good. Now, about that shovel. And then, all of a sudden, one of Venom's hands would just form into a symbiote shovel, and it would just smack Mito Monoma across the freaking room, all the way to a wall. And, he would just be like, ow. Like, he would barely even be able to make out, like, freaking syllables. He just got smacked so hard. And, his, like, the symbiote shovel would just turn back into a normal, like, Venom hand. And then the symbiote would regress completely back into, the body of the host. Except for the head and, like, part of the neck. Because it would be, like, reaching out, like, the shoulder/neck area of the host. The host being Hitoshi Shinso. Saving the day from Monoma's assholery. And, Izuku would just go up to, Shinso and be like, alright. And so with Shoto, they'd basically be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's give it the best we got. And Shinso would be like, Yeah, the best we all got. And whoever comes out on top will know who the strongest is. Venom, Carnage, or something that actually kind of surprised me a little, Agony. To be truthful with you, I didn't actually think you were going to get a symbiote at all, Shoto. And Shoto was like, yeah, me either. And Agony would be like, but, it's still a thought that counts. And Shoto's like, sure it is. Like, sure it is. And Izuku's just like, man, you guys are the best. And, basically, as the first thing would be start, like, as Midnight would, like, the rated R hero Midnight would be spinning the wheel, it would land on obstacle course race. And, well, as soon as it would start, Shoto would do the same thing that he did. He basically freeze, like, the entire starting area. However, something that Shoto was not expecting, Izuku to literally surround himself in a blue flames, like, freaking, like armor, like plated armor or some sort, like a knight's armor. It's basically just blue flame armor of some sort, and is surrounding himself with it, and then using the friction from, like, the flame and the wind kicking up from, like, all of, like, the kinetic energy to create, like, massive amounts of friction to send Izuku skyrocketing at speeds that literally barely anyone in the crowd can actually perceive with their own eyes. Literally, he does a little recipro burst and recipro extend. Ain't nothing compared to what Izuku's doing right now. He is literally peeling out his own little blue flame suit of armor just to add more speed than he already has. A boost to freaking wind. And so, just max speeds and shoots himself. And if you're wondering why they aren't doing any of, like, the slowing down to, safely get across all of the different obstacles, and even, fighting the zero pointer, get past that area, because literally all of, like, the kicking up of everything, like, all of the area around them, it's just a big sonic boom, a continuous sonic boom that just destroys everything in Izuku's wake and sends it flying in every which direction. So, like, several other of, like, the participants can't even see where they're going because of how much of the actual terrain Izuku's actually kicking up by going as fast as he's going. And, Shoto's barely able to keep up with him, just, like, symbiote alone. However, with the last bit of the blue flame around, the specific part of his body, he actually does some sort of tunnel vision shit and, like, 360 no scope, and the blue flame becomes a white flame, and it actually explodes outward, skyrocketing Izuku at light speed, having him cross the finish line 5 times over until he actually stops. from the lack of anything there actually is. And they just look and they just see that the entire obstacle course is ripped to shit by like the big explosion of white fire that happened. That just skyrocketed Izuku at light speed. And, Shoto, like, just realizing how, like, powerful Izuku is becoming. Like, just how much of an overall badass he is with these powers. And, Shoto's just like, things like this make me really happy and glad that he's not a villain. That's actually something that Shoto's thinking in his mind. Things like this, like, are some things that make Shoto really glad that Izuku isn't a villain. Because if he was, then I'll be screwed. Like, he literally used a explosion of white flame off of his body to send himself light speed and cross the finish line 5 times over. That is madness right there. That is Sparta. 300 reference. Movie 300, starring Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah. Anyways, after all that is done, Midnight just looking at all the wreckage of the entire obstacle course area. Now they go over to the area for the cavalry battle. Teams are the same as in canon, the exact same, except for the added flavor of Himeko Toga. And, well, basically, Izuku, Carnage is actually able to make his, tendrils, go out really far, so, people would actually have to climb the tentacles, the tendrils, in order to actually get to, the tip top. And that's where the headband would be. Izuku would actually, hold up a bunch of his tendrils out of his back and hold them towards the sky and, wrap around the tendrils the 10,000 point headband. Yes, that's right. He's literally making it nigh impossible to actually get the headband. And, shit just gets crazy. And because of this strategy, the only one who's really able to match Izuku is, Shoto and Shinso. They're the only ones that are really able to match Izuku at all. However, Izuku would be making the awesome strategy of sending spikes from the tendrils, shooting them out, like projectiles from the tendrils, and just shooting them at anyone who tried to get close. And even whenever people tried to climb up the tendrils, they would get, spikes through them. They would come out of the tendrils. And this would last for so long that Izuku will just be declared the winner. And Well, all that, the final activity would be like the final thing would be like versus battles, like student versus student. And the first battle that Izuku would have is versus Shinso. And Shoto's just like, lucky little. He gets to fight. Damn it. And then, like, Agni is just like, don't worry, we'll get our chance soon. At least I hope so. And, you know, whenever the fight would initially start, you know, Shinso just tried to pull his mind screwery, but the moment he did this, he would be confronted with like a black void of what seemed to be nothingness, and then like a big hulking red and black monster, this being Carnage's monster form, right in front of him, towering over him. That is until Shoto just, not Shoto, Shinso decides to push a little, like adding more oomph to his thing, and whenever he does this, he enters a monster form of Venom. However, like I've said in the past parts, Carnage does have a size advantage whenever it comes to, like, who is overall, like, more of symbiote. Like, Venom may be brutish and like a powerhouse at first, but Carnage is a mad lad. Plus, he's taller than All Might. And, well, this basically just making it powerhouse versus powerhouse. However, what would eventually come into Shinso's mind, he would realize something that Venom already knew. And seeing as Shinso didn't train that much, he trained, but he didn't train that much. Basically, so this thing that Venom already knew wouldn't have actually changed. It would still be the same. This very thing being the fact that, in the sense of an actual all-out fight, Carnage is stronger. Indefinitely stronger. And this is made so evident in the fact that whenever Shinso tells Izuku to walk off the stage, instead of walking off the stage, basically, there's just this wave of unknown energy. Shinso doesn't know what the hell it is, and neither do Shoto and, Agony. They don't know what this unknown energy that was just produced out of Izuku's body is, but they do know that it was so powerful that it stopped Shinso in his tracks. And, he's like speechless. And Izuku was actually walking up towards him, and basically, Izuku pulls some shadow boxing, and he goes for a punch, And, whenever Shinso goes to dodge the punch, you know, to the head, he goes to dodge it. It was literally a shadow box type punch because he wasn't actually going to punch him in the head because he knew that he would probably dodge that. So it was more or less a method of shadow boxing your opponent into actually getting hit with the attack you actually intended to use, which was a punch to the gut. And this punch to the gut with like a hook, a good old hook, a good old punch to the gut, basically Shinso is out. Venom regresses completely, and Shinso is just out. And Carnage regressing completely, and freaking Izuku just now realizing just how powerful he is. Izuku realizes that if he wanted to, he could probably just destroy everything and no one could really stop him. That he has this insane amount of power, but then Izuku's thinking no, no, no. Why? Why am I thinking, no, I won't? Why would I even be thinking that in the first place? And that's whenever he hears something in the back of his mind. It's because I'm still here. He hears the voice of Riot in the back of his mind. However, if there's anything Izuku's learned how to do is get rid of mental pests. And so, basically, he would reappear in his mindscape in his Carnage form, and he would see Riot's form. And he would see that he was actually kind of mooching off of Izuku's power from, his own being in order to, bring himself back from the brink of death. And he's almost back to full, capacity at full strength. And so, Izuku sees this. He doesn't say a word to Riot. He just turns away, gets out of his mindscape, has his two hands, he opens his mouth, and he shoots blue flames inside of his own intestines, going into his stomach. And that's basically where Riot's been, transmuting messages through the back of Izuku's mind as he was basically mooching off of his own energy, using what little bit of energy he had left, so that he could become finally complete again. And so he just smothers the dude with blue flames. And Izuku is completely resistant to his own fire now, so this doesn't hurt him at all. People are confused as frick-a-frack. They have no idea what's going on. Little to no idea. And that's until, basically Izuku gets over there, towards Shoto, Agony, and Momo are, and also Toga. And basically Izuku says that Riot was basically sending messages throughout his mind, trying to corrupt him, while also using his intestines and his stomach, sapping him of energy buffs to, like, bring him back to his pinnacle form and state. And he believes that Riot's doing this not only so that he can, be himself again, a dominant Riot, a super strong badass, but so that he could basically turn Izuku insane. And so basically, Izuku just did the first thing that came into his mind. Burned his insides. I mean, his insides can regenerate. However, Riot, seeing as he has that extreme weakness to fire, and those are blue flames right there, yeah, Riot's not going to be the one regenerating. Izuku can regenerate, sure, but not Riot. So finally, killing the bad news bears of Riot's existence off completely, only to be brought back as the true energy source. The wave of energy that they were sensing, that they were feeling, that stopped Shinso in his tracks, that was Riot's influence over him. Izuku's spidey sense finally noticing and being able to tell him what was going on. So basically, a glitch in Izuku's spidey sense is what that was. And so that's why it messed with Shinso, because, well, Shinso also had a symbiote, so it figures it would mess with him pretty good. But seeing as Shinso is now unconscious, he no longer has to worry about that. And also, like, he just wants to check and see how Shoto is doing, seeing if the whole wave affected him. And it turns out that, like, Shoto, basically, what it did is turned him very lethargic, like, zapped the energy out of him. And Izuku's like, what an asshole. Even trying to steal the energy out of my brother and his symbiote. What an asshole. I'm so glad I finally burned him into nothing. Nothing but energy for us. Carnage. And Carnage would just be like, yeah, that was fun. Finally getting rid of him. And so, the next fight that Izuku would have would be against his own brother. And boy oh boy would this be messy. Shoto and Izuku going at it, realizing that their fire and their ice aren't really going to mix very well. And that Izuku doesn't really want to, third degree burn Shoto all the way to hell with his blue flames. So he decided he's not really willing to do that. And so instead of, fire and ice being thrown at each other, they decide to stick to their symbiote powers and, like, actual physical contact moves. And so symbiote versus symbiote, spawn of venom versus spawn of venom, to see which of the spawns are better than the other. And basically it gets to a point to where it's like in a grapple hold. They're trying to push one or the other to, like, the edge of the arena and, knock them out of bounds. Like, as soon as one pushes forward, the other one pushes forward. So they're just in a stalemate, and everyone is on the edge of their freaking seat. However, a very important development is made. Now that basically everything that Riot once was is now pure fuel for Venom, like the entire symbiote that was Riot is now just pure energy for him. So this is like an infinite energy engine inside of a symbiote is basically what this equates to. Like the androids, how they have the infinite energy engines, like 17 and 18. That's basically what happened as soon as Izuku decided to absorb everything that Riot once was. He basically just created his own infinite energy engine. And in doing so, he basically presses forward, like burying his feet into the ground and trudging forward all the way through like the floor of the arena and like just grinding his very body against like the floor, like pushing forward and forward, and like Shoto can't stop this because there's so much momentum going forward. And that's whenever Shoto thinks, just release and send upwards whenever released. And so he goes to do this, and he ends up tossing Izuku up in the air. Or at least that's what he hoped to do. But this only like freed Izuku's feet from the ground and had him above, Shoto, landing an elbow down onto Shoto's cranium and causing him to fall back slightly, getting him towards the edge of the arena, and then basically a sort of backhand type elbow like smash move straight into Shoto's torso from Carnage. Izuku has Carnage, just doing that like an elbow like smash like backhand maneuver and just smashing straight into Shoto as Agony's like torso. It's like sending them flying into a wall and then onto the ground. And Izuku's like, that was a workout and a half. And Carnage is just like, yeah, I could probably sleep for a couple of days. I've never had to grind myself against the ground so much in my entire life just to stay in one position. Or just like one place. Man, our brothers are like tough as nails. Yeah, Izuku? Izuku's like, yeah, they really are something else. And that's whenever first place going to Izuku, second place going to Shoto, and third place inevitably going to Bakugo, who, yes, would have to have like chains around him and like a muzzle, because he's like, how the f did I get third place? That's right, Mr. like the freaking symbiote bros. And Shoto, being all sarcastic, would be like, thank you. And like Bakugo would be like, I didn't mean that as a compliment. And Shoto's like, yeah, don't care. Sorry, not sorry. And Izuku's just like, Carnage, I'm got pooped. And Carnage is like, yeah, me too. And basically All Might would hand out all the medals And you'd be like, Bakugo, you get 3rd place. Shoto, you get 2nd place. Izuku, you get 1st place. And so basically, the Todoroki family would be taking 2 medals home that night. And speaking of that night, basically as a celebration, the entire Todoroki family, along with Izuku and Bakugo's girlfriends, Toga and, Momo, would be going out for a celebration dinner. Like, both of their sons got freaking medals. Both of them. So, yeah, and to say Endeavor's proud of his sons is like a heavy understatement. However, a thing would happen, like Izuku would get a little bit of a text where it would be from Toga, and it would basically be, Toga telling him that she's kind of involved in the middle of something and can't really get there. However, Izuku would indeed realize something. At the end of Toga's texts, like, if, like, Izuku and Shoto are known as, like, the symbiote brothers because they both have symbiotes, basically that would make Toga and Yaoyorozu the freaking emoji sisters. Because at the end of their texts, they always leave emojis. Because, that's just how they are. However, this text did not have emojis. And it didn't really seem to be a text of any urgency, which is why she wouldn't be able to do any emojis. It just seemed to be a text saying that she was in the middle of something. However, even if she was in the middle of something, like, usually there would at least be something of, like, an emoji, like 2 or 3 emojis at the least. Like, usually 4 or 5 emojis at the most, and 2 or 3 emojis at the least. However, there were no emojis. Not at the beginning, not at the end, not even in the middle. No emojis. And, Izuku, this worried him. Like, this is not right. And Carnage can pick it up too. Carnage can pick up all of the not rightness that's going on right now. And so, Izuku's wanting to go out, but Endeavor, knowing why he wants to go out, he's like, no, Izuku. I'm pretty sure she's fine. Just a first. There's always a first for everything. Even things to do with emojis. Endeavor feeling weird after saying something like that. Even things to do with emojis. But even Momo would feel, that something was definitely not right. Shoto, having Shoto having her in his arms, you know, his arms wrapped around her. It would calm her down. But Izuku would not be able to be calmed, not even by his own symbiote. Izuku would be freaking out. He would try to call Toga's number. However, she didn't pick up. And that's whenever Izuku had basically just had it. She at least should pick up. And so Izuku snuck out in the cover of night, looking for Toga. He eventually ended up, Hosu City. Looking in the very alleyways, where something could have possibly happened. And then all of a sudden, he would hear something. Ugh. Well, that's this girl done and over with. Now, whole thing about that. What's with her? I wonder why she was allowed to attend a hero school with a quirk like hers. Something that allows her to steal the appearance of a person by drinking their blood like some sort of vampire. Then again, I guess my quirk isn't that much better. But at least I have the skill to back it up. Unlike this. This worthless piece of shit. Fake hero. And Izuku would turn around his head to see Toga, her body in a dumpster, and someone standing on top of the dumpster. Well, they really wouldn't be standing, they would be sitting, and then they would look over for their eyes to face Izuku's eyes. Izuku knew the description of this individual. The Hero Killer Stain. The Hero Killer Stain went after his girlfriend. Izuku couldn't believe it. First he lost his mother, and now he loses his girlfriend? No. 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 That's whenever Izuku would slowly start to go insane. He would create an axe arm and a flail arm and charge after Stain. Stain getting a cut on Izuku and licking the blood off his knife, paralyzing the boy, sending him to the ground with this strange feeling coursing through his body. Carnage cursing him deep inside their mindscape why he couldn't just stayed hidden, why he had to do that, something so stupid. Izuku saying, they took her. They took her. That's why. That's my reason. At least, now I know I'll be able to be with her. And Carnage is just like, no. No. We're going to be the ones that rein in the person who slaughtered her. And I know just how. And Venom would start to self-heal himself. And by doing this, the feeling that the cut that Izuku got would slowly start to fade away. And Izuku would be able to move again. Stan would be like, "What? How the hell? What are you? You can't be any normal human being. Otherwise that would have worked." And Izuku's like, "Oh, well, it did at first. But then I remember just how much I wanted to make you suffer. And I think having you rot in prison would be a very good suffering material." Hero Killer Stain, you took the love of my life away from me. For that, you will suffer. And Stain would be like, "Oh, so you two were an item. Fake heroes flocking with fake heroes. How disgusting." And Izuku would be like, "A hero? You really think I'm a hero? After what you did, it's a miracle I still have any sanity left in me. No, after this, I don't know what I'll be anymore. Though I won't kill you, you definitely will have suffered by the time the police get here. And I'll be long gone. Now, it's time to finish this together." As he would lunge towards Stain, basically, Izuku would lunge towards Stain, and even though Stain is pretty OP in the whole, badassness department, Izuku was like the entirety of Carnage now, with a full Riot Symbiote amp coursing through, his everything. It's not just Carnage, it's, the very, energy of what was once Riot, becoming, some sort of infinite energy engine, basically turning Izuku, freaking berserker mode. So, even though Stain is badass in his own right, he's nothing close to what Izuku has become, in this bloodlusted state right now. Izuku can barely contain himself to not kill Stain. He wants to so much, but in the end, he feels that Carnage is right. That making him rot in prison is so much more suffering for him than if he just killed him point blank. Period, point blank. And so, he does just end up kicking the crap out of Stain and leaving him for the police to pick him up and take him to Tartarus prison. And Stain doesn't even have enough left in him to make his speech. And there's actually this form that Izuku's beginning to morph into halfway, whenever he's about to get to his house, and it actually stops him, and he looks in the reflection of a broken mirror nearby, and what he sees is what I believe many comic fans will recognize as the look of absolute carnage. he's morphing into absolute carnage because of all the bloodlust and all the killing intent that is harbored from just Izuku's hatred. And just a little side note, he's carrying Toga's body with him. Like, he's like, she shouldn't have to have the burial place of a dumpster in the middle of some backwater alley. She should be given a proper burial. And, well, considering the way she was, Izuku believes that she probably wouldn't want to be cremated. You know, the way she was in life, she probably wouldn't want to be cremated. Because, well, technically, usually whenever somebody cremates something, they drop it in, like, the ocean or whatever. And you can't really follow the ocean too much. However, if you bury someone, you know, their burial site is always right in the same place. Unless someone's doing some majorly illegal grave digging. But that's not really about right now. So basically, Izuku decides that eventually Izuku will find a way to get the money for a burial and bury Toga in a place that, although Izuku believes it's hard to find, a place just as beautiful as she was whenever she was living. However, even though it was hard to find, Izuku does indeed find that place. That place being his old home, like the backyard of his old home. His old home being abandoned. The Midoriya residence being long since abandoned. And so their backyard has grown pretty beautifully and with a lot of, you know, special flowers. As Inko was known to have sort of a green thumb, and Asashi was a good help. And so was Izuku whenever he was very little. He liked to help too. And so, seeing as this is a piece of him, this little piece of his past is a piece of him, you know, it's almost like she would have never left. Because there would always be a piece of her within him. Within his past. But that would just make his past all the more tolerable to be able to remember, because whenever he remembered his past, he would also be able to remember that little piece of his past. Inside that little piece of his past, 6 feet under, is his lady love, Himiko Toga. And, well, the funeral, it's safe to say it would be depressing AF. However, whoever, you know, was attached enough to actually give a damn would indeed come over to pay their respects. You know, after all that was done and over, it would be a while, you know, after the whole staying over deal was done and over with, and basically Izuku and Shota wouldn't have a problem with their father getting the credit instead of Izuku, even though he was the one who took out Stain. He wouldn't really have a problem with his father getting the credit for, you know, Stain being defeated. He wouldn't really have a problem with it. Because in his mind, his Lady Love was still avenged. And then Carnage would just simply say to Izuku, well, what do we do now? Toga was such a part of our lives that just, I know that popping a question like this to you so close to, the day that it actually happened. It's kind of a dick move and all, but, legit. I need to know or else this is gonna kill me. Izuku, what do we do now? What is there that we can do? And Izuku really wouldn't know. However, whenever they returned to school, basically, the day that they would return to school, there would be, midnight with Aizawa, midnight telling them that they have to basically choose hero names. And, Izuku thinking what his hero name should be. And considering how long he's basically been with Carnage, he considers himself a symbiote hero. Carnage. Or maybe seeing as Shota would also be a symbiote hero, maybe they could actually do the same thing as, Carnage actually brings up the Wild Wild Pussycats. And, maybe they could do the same thing as them and, be an entire team. But not really a team, more or less a duo. A dynamic duo, in fact. They're both symbiote heroes. And one of them would be the symbiote hero Carnage, the other one would be the symbiote hero Agony. And, well, Izuku would talk this over with Shoto, and Shoto would be like, that sounds perfect. I like the sound of it. Yes. But what will we call our team? Izuku would be thinking, he would be in deep thought. Hmm. Hmm. Izuku thinking, he would be thinking, thinking, not coming up with much, but he would still try. Hmm. Hmm. And then Izuku thought of something. You know, he mentioned how, well, Shinso, well, even though he's in general studies, this is still a hero school, and Shinso, is still going to become a hero whenever he graduates, just like they are. And seeing as he has a symbiote, they have symbiotes, basically, they should let him in on their little idea. And, well, Shoto is totally on board for that. Like, the more the merrier. I mean, if they're gonna do something the way of the Wild Wild Pussycats, then why the hell not? And then Izuku says it. He says the name. Team Symbiosis. Shoto is like, claps for my bro. Shoto is like, couldn't be more of a perfect name. We all have symbiotes, so why not? I mean, symbiotic bond, host, symbiote, bond. The bond between the two is called a symbiosis. So, seeing as all three of us are the same way, Shinso having venom, me having agony, and you having carnage, and now we basically know who the strongest is. Technically, you would probably be the best leader. I mean, you basically showed pretty much straight that, back at the sports festival, that you were the strongest out of the three of us. And so, I really don't have any problems with you being the leader. And I don't think Shinso would either. Seeing as something that he had told me whenever he was leaving the sports festival, along with everyone else in general studies, is that, well, everything was still the same in regards to who was stronger in symbiotes. Carnage, still stronger. Carnage is stronger than Venom. So, basically, knowing that, and well, even though you and me going toe to toe, symbiote to symbiote, I still lost to you. That would make you the strongest, and technically, you gotta have brains and brawn, and you showed that masterfully whenever you were tangoing with pretty much everyone under the sun. So, I don't think there's any reason why you shouldn't be leader. And Izuku's like, well then, Team Symbiosis is now under construction. All we have to do is find Shinso. And we'll think of plans for the kind of, you know, team we want to be. While Pussycats have their own theme, and just beyond symbiosis, we should too. Or if symbiosis is going to be the main focus, then we should be able to make each member have a unique style of their own, if they don't already. And Shosho would be like, see, this is another reason why you make a good leader. You think so far ahead of everyone else. And so, I guess, off with the idea of Team Symbiosis, Izuku stating that he is a symbiosis hero, Carnage. Shoto stating that he is a symbiosis hero, Agony. And Midnight would actually make a remark that the student that, in general studies, that basically they were, doing the same thing. They also said that they were the symbiosis hero, Venom. And so without even knowing it, basically Shinso basically did the same thing that they did. But hey, they're planning on making a team, so, that's kind of a good thing. Team synchronization, being level with the other team members. And so, eventually Shoto would do what he said he would do. He would tell Shinso, and Shinso would meet up with Shoto and Izuku lunchtime. And basically, the other thing that they were told is that, internships at a hero agency, and Shoto and Izuku automatically knew they wanted to intern at their dad's agency. And seeing as, Shinso's seeing as they're all going to be a team, he decided he was going to intern at their father's agency as well. So Shinso's going to be interning at Endeavor's agency. And well, all goes well for basically the entirety of the internship. Because, well, the only real threat that they have to worry about, seeing as Stain's already taken care of, is the Nomus, and Endeavor can freaking blast a Nomu's head in and just kill it right then and there. He's been able to do that before. And then he even has the fire spider technique thing that he can do. And just rain down hell upon all the Nomus. And they're not even high-end Nomus, so they're pretty weak sauce when in comparison to the one that attacked the USJ. They're pretty weak sauce in comparison. So, yes, eventually the internship would end. And, well, this is where this video is going to end. Alanzi Anadouses, the Dark Shadow Maverick is LUT on here. Yeah, boys, like, favorite, subscribe, click that little bell. I'm a bounce like it's Quidditch. Yeet, and all the yeet is stretch.